The anchor of Fox News Sunday, Shannon Bream. Shannon, good morning to you, first of all. You know, if you'll forgive me, I'm just going to launch into something, and I want your response. Pete's already done this to me. My wheels are turning. Okay, so Shannon, I just had on the show Joe Cunningham, who's the head of No Labels, and he said when I asked about a candidate, he said kind things about Nikki Haley. It was very interesting in the way that he sort of put his arm around Nikki Haley. He also said they will not pick a candidate until after Super Tuesday. Nikki Haley said she's going to stick around through Super Tuesday. We've been asking, as recently last night, the three of us on Pete's Fox Nation special, why is Nikki Haley running for president? There is not many good answers to that question, and the answer is certainly not to become the Republican nominee for president. That's not the answer. So the answer is, I don't know if Donald Trump gets taken down by lawfare and she's trying to be an insurance policy, or if she's playing the professional donor game.
Or if she's a saboteur.
Or she is going to, after Super Tuesday, switch right over to No Labels and make this a three-person race, Shannon.
You know, Brett Baier pushed her on that Friday very pointedly. Is there a potential of another third-party run? Is there, at any point, that you would switch over to another lane? She said repeatedly, no, I'm completely foreclosing that. So unless she changes her mind about that, Friday she was pretty clear on that. But, you know, there's a lot of speculation that it isn't about becoming the nominee this time. I think the insurance policy point is a good one. I think that sort of percolates within Haley world. But there's this thought that it's really more about 28, that if President Trump loses this fall, she's going to be the one to be able to stand there and say, I was screaming at you guys that I was the electable one. He wasn't electable. And she's continually pointed to not only the 2020 election, but the interim elections, the midterms that didn't go super well, some of these special elections and other things that haven't fared well. So I think that thinking is among her team that she'll be able to turn back and say, if President Trump is the nominee and if he loses, you guys didn't listen to me, but here I am to help you pick up the pieces.
Shannon, could that not backfire, though? I mean, there's a point, everyone will look, there was a point where everyone said, well, how long will Ron DeSantis stay in? And he stayed in until votes were cast, and then he saw the writing on the wall, understood what time it is. There has to be a point where their team would realize there's diminishing returns here. There will be animosity. Her bet would be, we want Donald Trump to lose in 2024 so that we can look good. That doesn't look good inside a Republican Party that's 60, 65, 75% for Trump.
And so far, she hasn't convinced those folks. You guys have seen the numbers again and again, commandingly GOP voters. And again, we have to remember, as you guys have pointed out, in South Carolina, you could cross over and vote, regardless of what party you're in, if you didn't vote in the Democratic primary earlier in the month. So how many of those folks showed up in support of Nikki Haley, who aren't registered GOP members, who aren't part of the base? She has not convinced, though, the GOP base that she is the alternative that they need, that they want. She's got really good fundraising and money. She doesn't have a donor problem. She's got a voter problem. And so they're unconvinced. And remember, in our Fox News voter analysis, 59% of the people who voted for Nikki Haley last night said they're not going to vote for President Trump if he's the nominee. So you got to wonder who it is that's been showing up for her in these primaries.
Yeah, and it's not just like Democrats saying, I want to interfere with the Republican primary. She's literally been targeting them and trying to get them to the poll, which is a whole different thing than the Democrat Party trying to play dirty tricks. I want you to look at this, because one of the cases that she makes for why she's staying in the race is she says, well, I'm the better general election candidate. Nobody wants Donald Trump and Joe Biden, but if you put me up against Joe Biden, I have a better chance than Donald Trump. This is Fox News voter analysis. So we analyzed, we polled the people who went to the polls yesterday. They say, almost 80% of them say Donald Trump can win the general election. Only 19% say he can't. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, they're not, these folks don't line up with the other polls that we've seen, clearly. And maybe South Carolina, as a microcosm of itself for Republicans, they're just not going to match up with these other general election head-to-head polling that we've seen. I mean, that Marquette Law School poll this week that had her up by 18 points head-to-head with President Biden, of course her team is going to be touting that, but it doesn't matter if you can't get there. If you can't win the nomination, if you can't convince people you're the standard bearer for their party, it doesn't matter. I will tell you, I'm sure you guys have heard this on the ground too. When I was in Iowa and New Hampshire, we'd go to these events and visit with people. A lot of the Nikki Haley people told me that it was because of the general election polling they were supporting her. It wasn't necessarily, I think her ideas are completely different from President Trump. I line up more with her. It was more about winning the general election. For a lot of her supporters in those early states, it was about those polls. But clearly, the Republicans who voted in South Carolina last night are not buying those polls.
No, they're not. And a lot of Democrats, as you pointed out, they crossed over and voted for Nikki Haley. A big Fox News Sunday today because we're heading into Super Tuesday. Got a big result last night. Who do you have?
Yeah, so we're going to talk that all through with our political panel. We also have a couple of governors because we're going to go live to the border for a report on just how chaotic things are down there. And two governors, Jared Polis, Democrat of Colorado, and Republican Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma, both say, listen, all states are border states now. They've got real problems. They were just at the White House with the president. I want to know what he told them. Do they have concrete solutions? Also, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan from the White House is going to be here as we mark 2 years in Ukraine. And the White House is asking for tens of billions more in aid. What is his explanation about how this ends? Congresswoman Nancy Mace with us as well, too.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you, Shannon. We'll be watching Fox News Sunday,
See you guys
2
later.
p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, by the way,
Send me some
Shannon, we
pimento.
saved you some pimento cheese.
Okay, please do.
You shot us a text and said save some. You got it.
Looks good.
Thank you,
Great to see you, Shannon.
You do.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.